Welcome to A Walk in My Stilettos, where our goal is to help you walk in your greatness. I'm your host, McKinney Smith. Today we have a special guest on the show. She has a passion and a purpose in the personal, professional, and spiritual development of people. She's moved from projects to PhD. She's the CEO of Dr. Kimberly Ellison Global LLC, founder of House of Ruth Jewels Inc., Gemstones and Gentlemen Program, Corporate Jewel Professional Women, and Sparkle Publishing. And she is also the voice of Wow, Winning on Wednesdays, a live radio segment on the Jermaine Simpson on KHVN 970 AM. Please welcome Dr. Kimberly Ellison. Girl, thank you for being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You know, I always look at all of the titles that we have as women. So I like to start the show by asking you, what does your name mean?
You know, honestly, McKinney, my mother, it's so funny because I feel like I got the best name out of all my siblings. It's because, and so it's Kimberly. And so from what I never asked my mom, like, what does it mean? And she's just a true country girl, and she's just like, you know what? It's just Kimberly, honey. I thought it was cute, but I always tell people the first diamond was found in Kimberly, Africa. And so I always liken it to the diamond that was found in Africa, in Kimberly, Africa, and really taking a look at, I always say this sparkle cost me something. And so not knowing that name was actually the first place where diamonds were found. So my name, really, my mom just named me, but I can acclaim it too, the first diamond that was found in Kimberly, Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like I said before, like as women, we have all these titles, and I feel like our names have significance to, the people that we become, because our name is a title, right? And even as you said that explanation, I was like, let me Google this. So online it says the name Kimberly is an English baby name, and in English the meaning is from the wood of the royal forest.
I like that too.
It's got royalty in there. It's good.
Yes, a royal forest. Yes, I love it. So I'll take that too. But yeah, you know what? I love my name. The funny thing is, people always shorten Kimberly, and I always tell people my name is Kimberly, and you would not believe, McKinney, the people that get offended, because I'm like, my mother named me Kimberly. I say it as Kimberly, I write it as Kimberly, and people always shorten it, and they always say Kim, and always say, no, it's Kimberly, and like they literally get offended. And so I do. I actually think that your name does mean something, and I happen to like my name, and I use the full name Kimberly. And so it's funny you started out with that, because that's actually one of the things I always tell people. Don't allow people to just shorten your name and things that you really hold true, and that's a part of what my identity. And I just really like being called Kimberly.
Yes, and I think it's odd that other people get offended, when you ask them to call you by your full name.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Something so small, but people really, they do. They really take offense in some regard. And I understand sometimes when you shorten it, it's a term of endearment. But that's also a place where we have become very comfortable with each other, where we automatically assume that we have that level of comfort. And we have to know that, if I don't call you, hey, Mac, like that's just not something that I need to be able to do and ask you if that's okay. Not to just automatically own that space in your life. So, yeah.
Right. Because my family calls me Mac. And, sometimes when, someone that I don't know very well shortens my name and calls me Mac, I'm kind of thrown off. I'm like, that's what my family calls me. You don't know me like that.
Yeah, it's good. You have to call you Mac, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I read that you have been teaching since the age of 6. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So when did you discover your purpose?
Okay, the funny thing is, I- I've been teaching since I was 6 years old, and I knew that teaching was a part of my DNA. And I knew that when I was about in kindergarten. And I always tell the story on how when I would come home from school, we'd go to school, we come home, and we go back. Well, here in the U.S., we have summertime where kids, you don't go to school year round, or not back then, you didn't. And so summertime had come, and my mother was like, "Well, honey, you don't go to school tomorrow. You'll go back in a couple of months." And it literally broke my heart. Like, what do you mean? And so I actually started to take. We call them wood knots or figurines. And so when you put them on like the coffee table or your place settings where you would have decoration in your house, and so I would pull all of my mother inanimate objects to the front, and I would sit down, notebook in hand, pen, and I would teach them. And I was teaching these objects and that couldn't talk back. And I had full classes and lessons for them. And I remember thinking now, when I think back then, that I truly enjoyed it. Like, that was what I got up every day to do for summer. I didn't go outside in the morning and try to go play with the other kids or turn on the television or watch cartoons. I had class, and I was
Right.
teaching subjects that I didn't know about at an early age, and I was acting like I was the teacher and facilitating to these objects who couldn't speak back, yet it was so meaningful. And
Wow.
so my mom would always remind me that I've been teaching from her like coffee table since the age of 6. And so I knew then that there was something. I've always had a desire to, McKinney, teach. Even when I read, I always thinking about how can I digest this so that others can grow from this and glean from that place of knowledge. And
Mm.
so I didn't know how to accept that though. I was like, Lord, what's wrong with me? Like, I literally thought something was wrong with me because I can go to an event, and the first thing I would think of is when something is so life changing for me is how can I share this with another person? How can I get this information? If I hear a YouTube, it was always information sharing, changing someone's life by the messages that I'm receiving or I'm learning. And so I had a mentor who I talked with, and she said, "No, honey, that is a gift, and everybody does not have
Yes.
that."
That's right.
And so that's when I started to accept, like, oh, wow, this is not just me being, a little weird. It's more so it's a gift that's bubbling on the inside of me. So I've known
Mhm.
that beginning since childhood. And as I've gotten older, it has become a gift, but also with the world of social media, it can be a curse as well.
Mm.
So I've been knowing that since about kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful because I mean, we have people our age in their, 30s, 40s and what have you that still feel like they don't know what their purpose is. So I think
Mhm.
that's beautiful that you've known that from such a young age.
And you know what?
So
I always say if you go back to the beginning, if you go reflect, your purpose has been there
that's right.
since the beginning of time. And we don't look at it as purpose. We look at it, as women. I've encountered several women on the course of the journey God has given me to be able to be a part of so many women's destiny plan. And they would say, I just want to know what my purpose is because we've been taught that it's something that it's this big grand thing that's going to fall out of the sky or you're going to run into purpose. You are always becoming a part of your purpose. And if you
Mhm.
really take a look at it, your purpose is who you are. It's innately in you. And that thing that
Yes.
pulls people to you and people come to you for, the thing that you draw, that actually you try to express others in becoming is what your purpose is.
Yes, when I'm working with my clients, one thing I do first is to get them to go back to when they were young, when they were little. What did they want to do? Who did they want to be at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Because when they were free to use their imagination, they weren't limited by what other people thought or what other people said. And if you take a look back that far before, all of the viruses of what people have to say and their limitations that's when people discover they actually wanted to do such and such from they were young.
Mhm. I agree. I even think I was sharing the other day in social media that at one point I looked in the mirror and I actually saw myself as a woman God showed me in my dreams when I was a little girl. And I didn't realize that it wasn't just my creative imagination, but it was him giving me a glimpse of my destiny and
Mm,
him showing me who I would become in him and what I could be through him. And so your creative imagination is actually what fuels the dreams. It fuels the vision of your destiny. So it's when you say that, it speaks volumes. And having your clients go back to that place is really where we start to become who we are, who we were created to be. Is in our imagination. We start to see ourselves in our future. And so that's God showing us a glimpse of what's before us, even though we're in our current situation. So yeah, that imagination is a deep resource. When you stop dreaming and we stop imagining the possibilities, then we cut off part of our destiny.
that's right. That's right. Like the imagination is like, for the people that I work with, that's the basis of where we start when we're
Mhm.
looking at setting their big goals. Because oftentimes, we look at what we want to do, but then the first thing people do is say, I can't do this because, or I can't, I'm not ready to do this because they're looking at their current circumstance. But if you go
Mhm.
back into your imagination and you focus on the fantasy of the things that you would love to do if there were no obstacles in the way, and then you bring that into, okay, am I actually able to do that? Is this possible? And am I willing? So am I able and am I willing? And then that
Mhm.
fantasy, that imagination thing becomes theory. And if you focus on it enough, it can become fact.
Right. I agree. I think, when I share about vision, because I love just sharing about not just having a vision, casting a vision, but becoming the vision. And when we
Mm-hmm.
do that, McKinney, it comes from our belief. And so, just like you're sharing about the imagination, somewhere along the lines in our childhood, our experiences taught us to not believe what we see. It taught
Mm-hmm.
us not to dream because of the experiences that we had, whether it was environmental, parental, or relational, or experiential. It taught us not to believe in the imagination of our vision or what we see in our creative mind. And I always dig deep, and for the ladies and gentlemen who would be listening, it would be more so about the belief system. I always say, what is it that you don't believe about yourself? That
Mm-hmm.
your historical points taught you in your life, your experiences said, do not believe that because it's not true about you. And so it all starts with your belief system. When you start to dream and you have that imagination and creative mind, I always ask God to help me with the divine creativity because divine creativity helps me see beyond sight into vision. And
Right.
that's where my belief starts to be challenged. Like, how can you really become what you see? And we actually look for this someone to come save us. We often look for someone. If someone could just discover me, if someone could just, get me on a platform, or if someone, well, newsflash, the
Mm.
someone is you.
You. Yes,
That
that's right.
someone is
That's
you.
right.
And it starts with discipline. It starts with practical steps of your schedule, your time, and have you really introduced your vision to your time? Because that's where they meet destiny. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about being more so just in the so conceptual. It's more about how can you do it in a practical sense. So
Mm-hmm.
when you think about the imagination and your belief, now you have to. People say, "Well, write the vision and make it plain." Well, I tell people to write it out. So you can write the vision. I want to become a author. I want to become a speaker. I want to manifest God's glory through the things that I'm doing in my job and my career. I want to be. So that's writing. You write that out. You write
Mm-hmm.
it down. But when you write it out, you put together a practical and strategic plan on how you're going to accomplish those goals. And that includes your discipline. That includes coming against your belief system, redirecting your thoughts, because you have to retrain your mind when you're going to a
Definitely.
different level that you've
Definitely.
never seen before. You have to retrain your thinking.
Definitely. I think for me, belief is everything because there was a point in my life where I didn't believe things were possible, so they didn't happen. But when I opened up my mind to believe in who I am as a person and whose I am, everything changed for me. So I think belief is extremely important. So okay, for you, how important is your level of faith in your success?
It is, at the risk of sounding cliche, it is everything. I honestly cannot do business, corporate, career, profession without my belief system in God, and just saying, okay, God, how are you leading and guiding me? Because I stick to what can keep us from moving out of our lane is knowing that we have a Jeremiah 29:11. And I know people quote that scripture, and sometimes when you have a scripture that is an affirmation or something that people say constantly, it starts to lose its power. But when you really think about Jeremiah 29:11, when the Lord says He knows He has the plans for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans of a hope and a future, that means you have been selected, pre-qualified, preordained. You have already been given everything that you need to accomplish the journey, to accomplish your destiny. Now, with that, I am going to face challenges. I'm going to go through processes. There will be setbacks. There will be obstacles and learning moments, times when I get things wrong. There'll be times when I feel inadequate, and there'll be times when I'm trying to compare what I'm doing to someone else's, journey. However, you go back to the Jeremiah 29:11, and you say, well, God, I know that you have a pre-cut plan for my life, and I know that it is the best for my life. What does that look like? How do I discover that? Mm-hmm. And that's through Him. And I always say, when you go to the source, you can now get the resources that you need to accomplish your destiny. It is everything to me. I don't want to do anything without God's confirming blessing, and that's His anointing. People say, well, the anointing was high, but it's really God's confirmation. The word God says where His favor is, that's His confirming hand. So when God puts favor on you in a certain situation, for example, my aspiration for corporate and working in the workplace was to be, an executive in a chief learning officer role. And the years I would go through in the workplace, I was climbing this ladder, and I would always find myself in a state of opposition. And I would find it in a place where I'm performing well, I have great relationships, but I could not find a great mentor. For some reason, people would always think, they would say, oh, you'll be fine because you're strong. Oh, you're good. You have what it takes. Didn't know why. Didn't understand it. I would always come up against leaders in the workplace who I supported. They were great in the workplace. However, when it came time for a promotion for me, they would present a stumbling block or an opposition for me being promoted. Not sure why. And as I would overcome some of those challenges, I would keep in my memory bank, and I call it my jewel box, on what tools and skills that I had to pull from to overcome those things. And that's how Corporate Jewel was birthed. Corporate Jewel was birthed out of a place of pain, and it was birthed from how do I now show women who are kingdom-minded, who are believers and women of faith, that you can actually have success in the workplace and even in your business without compromising your Christian character and integrity. What you have to do, though, is ask God to command your day, command your steps, and believe in your Proverbs 16:3. It says, commit your plans unto the Lord, and He will establish them. And so that is committing everything that you do. And when I had to, honestly, and this is true for the women that will be listening, McKinney, this is so true. I always ask, because I had to ask myself this, what if your desire and your dream is not God's will for your life? And that was a hard pill to swallow for me, because it gives me chills even now, because when you say, Lord, I want to be in a particular dimension to reign for your glory, like bring your glory into the workplace, bring your glory into the entertainment industry, or bring your glory into the world for women to be transformed or people's lives to be transformed, then it doesn't mean, when you say yes to be used, it doesn't mean He's going to use your dream to do it.
Right.
And so that was a tough spot for me, because I actually literally could see myself giving up my desire my executive corporate, dreams for His glory. And what the Lord told me literally was, is that the best you think I can do for you?
Mm.
And so it all goes to my belief drives everything, whether it is how I am as a mother, as a wife, in the workplace, in business. It's programs that I do not roll out. I have these programs for years. People don't believe me. I'm like, literally, I do not roll out it unless I have that full confirming blessing of God to say, this is it. I don't care how much money it'll make. I don't care how much strategy I have assigned to it. If I don't get the full confirmation of this is the season, this is the place, because that's where you get the blessing.
Right.
You can do the right thing at the wrong time.
Wrong time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can also do the right thing at the right time with the wrong people.
Right. Right.
And so you just have to be led. And so my belief system and who God is in my life drives everything that I do.
I think that's important. When I was running in our provincial election this year, I had a constituent basically write on my social media that she will never vote for me because I talk about God too much, and she's an atheist. And at first, I wasn't even going to respond because, you have the right to believe whatever you choose to believe. And I had, a few supporters basically in my defense kept responding to her. And then I said, you know what, let me explain something to her so that other people can also understand. Although, I don't need to explain myself to anyone, but I said to her, regardless if I talk about it openly in any form of business that I do or not, that does not change my belief in God. So even if I didn't speak of God so openly on my social media, that has nothing that will not change how I perform in any form of business. That does not, my belief in God is not going to change. So whether you choose to vote for me or not, that is totally on you.
That's it. I think that goes to my messaging. I always say is what my signature is to be able to help women and individuals utilize kingdom principles in workplace or in practical settings. And how do we do that? Well, before I even get there, I've already manifested what's going to happen in my day through my words. So I'm already covered and asked God to manifest my day in a way that's according to His purpose and will for my life. Allow my decisions to be something that are aligned with His will. Allow my responses to be reflective of His image of who I am, and allow the Holy Spirit to take complete control over everything when I walk in the room. And so and this is what I teach when we're talking about transferring kingdom principles into those practical places, is that who I am and what I do is one and the same. I work in this environment. I own this type of business, but that's what I do. Who I am is a woman that believes in God in such a way that I know my destiny is aligned with His purpose for my life. So I go in already, whether you see me or not, I've already prayed. Whether whether I mention a scripture or not, that is what drives my outcome. So that is what I try to really employ into the women and to individuals, is that you do not sit down on your faith for a job or a career or a business transaction. That's your strongest skill set. That's your strongest competency. That's the strongest part of who you are. Because when the business goes wrong, when the campaign trail gets tough, what do you then have to draw from that's greater than you?
Right. Exactly. Because that was exactly how it was for me. When things got hard, it was my faith in God that kept me going, because that was not an easy task. So, okay, I have a question for you, because I definitely believe in collaboration over competition, and that's how we met, based on your collaboration efforts. So can you speak to the importance of collaborations in business? Like, I see that you work, with a team of women, and I love to see the sisterhood. So how essential has that been in building a business?
Collaboration is critical. It is very key. One thing I would say from a practical perspective is to know people say know your lane, but I say know your calling, know your strengths, and know where you are effective in your environment and effective in the kingdom. When you know what you have been called or assigned to do, or you know the strengths that you have, then you know that what position you'll play on that team.
Right.
And so you have to be able to know your utility and usefulness for the team that you're collaborating with. I say that because there will always be opposition because we are human, we are fallible, so therefore we are imperfect, so there are going to be challenges, right? So in that, if you know your strengths, if you know what position you play, you don't see a wide receiver trying to be a quarterback, so you have to know what position and where you are most effective for the team. And if you remain true to the calling and true to the position in which you've been assigned, I think I know the effectiveness comes from that. What happens with collaboration is when you begin to operate in the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. When you begin to take your eyes off of your position and start to focus on someone else's positioning. So God could be positioning McKinney for another assignment, yet you feel that you should have that assignment. So when you are collaborating, there is a spirit of competition that can creep in if you're not careful. I always say that competition envy and admiration are first cousins. And in the same eye that you envy someone, you can admire them. It's only a slight turn of the eye in which you see the perspective you take that would turn envy into admiration or vice versa.
Right.
So you have to be very careful on how you see it. Most often when we collaborate, it could be a beautiful thing if, again, right people, right timing, and the right season for you. When you do the right thing with the wrong people, collaboration then turns into competition.
Right.
It then turns into petty. It turns into, she took my platform. She stole my disc. She took my idea. And so what I believe and what I encourage other women to do is to always keep building from a divine creative perspective. God has so much in you. There's a well so deep within all of us. We've not yet to discover everything about us. So when you do see someone who replicates or there is a spirit of competition rather than collaboration, I always go back to the root of why am I having this feeling? What drove this feeling? And I'm always introspective first. And so I would encourage us to, in the spirit of collaboration, always know that your calling, where you are the strongest, and what you add to the table. What do you add to the team? What do you bring? And when you know that, you can collaborate because you're not worried about outshining, McKinney, or outshining another person or another woman or team member because that's not your place.
Right.
And so I think collaboration is critical to business, it's critical to ministry, it's critical to doing life together, and it's critical to your Christian walk.
Yes.
And you have to have that collaboration. The thing is we have to be wise in doing it and check our motives. When you know a person's motives, your motives will drive your action. So what we have a tendency to do is overlook a person's motives and intent because of their popularity. And I always say just because someone is popular doesn't mean that they operate in a place of integrity.
Facts.
And so we confuse integrity with popularity. And we confuse effectiveness with social media likes and following. And we have to be careful that we don't get caught up in what all encompassing. So that means, well, if you're good at one thing, you must have great integrity. Or you will, so we will cast our pearls before swine, and we've not been given the obedience or the release to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So collaboration is critical. I cannot do any of the things that I do without collaborating with my team. I don't have a big team. I have teams per assignment. And that's
Mm.
one thing I want to share. Sometimes we try to hold on to the same team for different assignments, but God did not assign those individuals from team A to go with you to team B
Right.
or assignment B. So we have to learn to be flexible, and also we have to learn to be agile in the spirit.
Mm.
And that means releasing our will for His will. Again, that is where we are agile. That's when you know God is leading, when we allow the agility, the spiritual agility to take place in who we are. And that is, okay, God, this, what happens, we'll get upset because individuals can no longer volunteer or can no longer serve in that capacity, but they did so well over the last year. Well, this is a new assignment. God has them going in a different direction, and now you need to be praying for other Aarons to come alongside you as Aaron came alongside Moses. You need to pray for other Joshuas to come alongside you as they did Moses. You need to pray for other, Naomi and Ruth and someone to go into you and back to your homeland. You need to pray for other team members to come alongside you in this season of the assignment. And that is what goes back to your belief driving your business, your workplace, your life as a mom. What season is this? And that's where, can I just say this, McKinney, sometimes we get seasons mixed up with friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And friendship is a great thing. It is a relationship between two individuals who ideally share a commonality or common perspective, goal, or just genuine caring love for each other. However, when I move into my season of something different for a business venture, does not mean I'm not your friend. It just means that the season has shifted. Now our relationship is shifting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still your friend. I'm in a different season. You're in a different season. Well, we as women tend to think of it emotionally when we need to think of it spiritually and
Right.
say, she's on assignment, I'm on assignment. We'll touch bases as we go and stay in prayer for one another, but we're not in the same season right now.
Right. Girl, you are preaching. Where can I place my offering? I was thinking about all these other questions I was going to ask you, but you were just like preaching over here.
Listen, my
Thank
heart
you.
is truly, seriously, for us as women. I see it so much in the marketplace, definitely in ministry. In corporate world and the work world, when you think about, I'm like, people think corporate is hardcore. I say, wait until you start doing ministry
Mm-hmm.
and working in the ministry marketplace and advancing your business, and then you will see that it is very challenging out here to remain an integrist and without coming off. And it's hard for you to just say, you know what, I'm not going to give you a piece of my mind because I need all of it today,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not going to come out of character, or I'm not, because we all can. And it's difficult to continue to take the high road when there's so many people just stabbing you at every place. There's no longer stabbing you in the back anymore. People are stabbing you in the front. They're stabbing you on the side
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
every hand. And so one of the things I caution myself, everything I speak on is a lesson. So
Right.
what that means for me is that a lesson that I have learned or that God is dealing with me in and with, using wisdom for the relationship.
Right.
And for us to begin to ask God for spiritual wisdom on the spirit that we're interacting with in business. Because we do want to, as women, be connected to other progressive and high-achieving, kingdom-minded women. But that does not mean that high-achieving, progressive, kingdom-minded woman is for this season in your life.
Right.
And we can't get upset when the connection doesn't gel like we see it, because that's our desire and not God's desire.
God's. That's right. That's right.
And so we need to start having relationships that are kingdom relationships with a spiritual orientation of is it the season for me to cover you, or is it for the season for me to come with you?
Mm.
And
I love that.
and that's where we have to start, because I myself have had hurt feelings, because I'm like, no, I think she's so great. I would love to connect with her, and I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this with her, and I want to do that with her, and she's just amazing in her, what she's doing. And it was always a closed door.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what is this? Like, what's going on? Like, something's wrong with me. We always start to get offended, or we walk in a fence, or we feel like this person thinks that they're better, or they don't have time for us, or whatever the case may be. Well, when you start looking at it from a spiritual perspective, and everything that you do is about the assignment for your life, you want relationships that are going to help drive that, and that you can support and rally. Sometimes it's for me to rally you and support you from afar and to
Right.
cover what you're doing, and it's not for me to become a part of it.
Right.
And so I've learned that it's painful. I want to share with the ladies that are listening, it's very painful sometimes, because you see yourself with this particular person or persons. And I want us to challenge ourselves to stop getting into a circle of friends and women and start getting into a spiritual ring. And that is, I want to get in this fight with you. Because, see, when you do destiny with me, you need to get ready to fight.
Right.
Because I don't need women who are cute and can't fight in the spirit. Because if you can't
Amen.
with me, then we're not going to go achieve the assignment on the other side. It's just like Caleb and Joshua and the 10 that went out. If you with me, and when God sent them out, Moses sent them over to the promised land to spy out the land. If you go with me to spy out the land, because see, when we go on assignment, we were on tour, we were spying out the land. And so when you go with me and you come back, your vision looks different. 10 of them said, oh, it's, the land is great, but there are giants over there. But
right.
Caleb and Joshua said, oh, no, we ready. Let's go. Let's take over. So you have to know who you send, who's going with you, and
Right.
what vision they have for the assignment that you're going to take over. And you got to know that when you go with me, it's not because we cute. It's not because we dress nice. Those are great. Yeah, I want to be cute. I want to be fly. We got to stay together. But I want to be able to go over there and take out this unit, this full unit, take out these costumes, and go and full out a melee in warfare when an enemy is trying to attack the assignment.
Yes.
I don't need you to quit and say there's a giant on the other side. I need you to say, hold on, let me get my sling like David. Hold on, let me go get my resources, so I can fight in this battle with you. Resources, pulling out the things that you can help your sister with.
Yes.
Hey, let me go get, I used to do accounting. You messed up in your finances. Oh, we finna attack this demon. We finna go against this inefficiency for knowledge. I'm gonna go and get the resources to help you go out and not just spy out the land, but take over the land. And so you want people in your team that you're collaborating with in the natural that has spiritual resources to fight the giant or to fight for you in the promised land like they did. Because, see, when you get there for collaboration purposes, I don't need anybody I can't lead if I always got to watch my back.
Yes.
And so I need women, and I don't always have to be in the forefront.
Yes.
Because when you are a leader, you know that there are other women around you who have greater strength in certain areas as you do.
Yes. I was saying that to the last lady that I had on the show. Like, in order to be a great leader, we also need to know how to be great followers.
Yes, and that's one thing. And as we, I remember, I don't always hold my hand up. And people will say, well, you were great at this. Why didn't you tell them you would do it? Some assignments, I raise my hand because I'm in obedience, and I'm saying, okay, I know I could be effective here. The Lord, this is where I need to be. The other assignments, I stand down because sometimes God is trying to do something in you. Sometimes, and then sometimes you're always seeing yourself. Well, sometimes God needs to see other people to see that in you.
Right.
And
I
so,
no, go ahead.
so that's the thing. So that's where, again, McKinney, other people need to see that in you for that place. And also, sometimes we're so stuck on our strengths that God is trying to get something else out of us, and
Right.
we won't let Him do that because we're so stuck on the thing we're great at.
You know, it's funny you say that. I was speaking on a panel in Washington about, you know, book publishing. And one of the ladies that stood out from the audience that asked a question, she was looking for media coverage. And I said, you know, everyone has their own way of doing things, and it's all great and all, but I have never had to pitch myself to any form of media. And I've been blessed to be on all of Canada's major media platforms, many in the US and some in South Africa. But it's never me putting my hand up saying, hey, look at me. It's been someone else that's seen my strengths and wanted to highlight that.
And absolutely. Here's the deal. People say, well, how do you do all these speaking engagements? How do you do all these things? And what I always tell you is that the game starts way before you get on the stage, way before you get on the court.
Yes.
And it starts in practice. And for women who are looking to be on the platform or get on the stage, there's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong is the intent. And so one thing I've been reading, and not being overly spiritual, but I was reading in the book of Malachi where Malachi was telling the Israelites about you were giving God a sacrifice. You told God that you would give the Lord a sacrifice from your strongest cattle, your strongest animal. But what they did, they started giving sacrifice offerings from the crippled and the sick animal. And the Lord says, you said that you would give from your best.
Right.
And so it brought me back to, on these platforms, you pray for all these things and you get exhausted and you're saying you're making God's name great. So it brought me back to, what assignments are you taking, and are you giving God your very best offering?
Right.
Are you giving Him your best sacrifice? And so it starts before you get to the speaking engagements, before you get to the panel, before you write the book, of really conditioning yourself in prayer. And my commitment is developing my prayer life in a greater way. But prayer is my alt control delete. It is my default setting. It's not from a place of, oh, I know. It's the place of, I know the difference between trying to operate in the workplace or in a business without a prayer life, and then the changes that come with my prayer life.
Right.
And so it starts before you get to the stage. You will begin to have those opportunities when you are prepared. When I say that means preparation breeds confidence. Preparing yourself, preparing your content, praying over your content, preparing for the assignments that you're going to receive, the women that are going to be there, the lives that you're going to engage and encounter.
The impact.
And transform. Yeah, like what is it that you're doing? And so it starts before then. You start to begin to put a business plan together, a strategy, who you're going to connect with. Pray about who you connect with. Pray about the opportunities. Pray about the assignments. And prepare yourself. I cannot express enough about being prepared.
Right.
And when you are not prepared, meaning putting your practical, tactical things together, your presentations, your knowledge, go ahead and start looking like what you see in your future.
Yep.
Go ahead and start practicing your delivery now. Because people think, you just jumped on the scene. No, we've been doing this for a very long time.
Exactly.
And it's just now God is manifesting the seed as part of a harvest that you're reaping. And even in our harvest, it is still work. And so I want to encourage the women to know that you are pre-qualified and qualified for the vision that you see. And so you want to know, in order to meet that qualification, it's going to take you putting in the disciplined work.
I'm like, I want to continue this conversation. I'm actually losing my voice all of a sudden. It's like that church service where you're like, okay, don't end yet, don't end yet, don't end yet. So I'm definitely going to have you back on the show. But I want to make sure before we do the final segment, like tell people where they can stay connected with you, where they can find you online, all of your socials.
Oh, absolutely. Now, look for me at drkimberlyellison.com. That's drkimberlyellison.com. That is my website. I would love for you to go and sign up to receive the resource guide. I have that for those who, one of the biggest things, McKinney, we talk about the how. A lot of times women have vision or they have concepts, we don't know how. So this guide will help you with some of the resources that you would need to get started in different directions, whether it's business or work or ministry. And so go there. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Kimberly Ellison, and on Twitter as Dr. K. Ellison. I'm LinkedIn, Kimberly Ellison, PhD. I would love to connect with you ladies, and I have so many amazing resources and courses that I would love for you to participate and take part in. Let's just connect.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, I ask this question because, I mean, it's no secret that stilettos are my favorite type of shoe, and it's not just for the aesthetics of it. I mean, it's got a lot of metaphors for me, especially because my goal is to walk in faith. But stilettos, they force me to walk purposefully, and they force me to walk gracefully.
Yes.
They elevate the way in which I walk. So that is why they are my favorite shoe. But I read an article that said that your favorite type of shoe says a lot about your personality. So I'm going to ask you, Dr. Kimberly, what is your favorite type of shoe? Is it a walking shoe? Is it a high heel? Is it?
It's a high heel.
Okay.
And it's definitely a high heel. And one of the things, my favorite thing is I always wear, I don't really like flats. You won't catch me in them unless, maybe I'm in the airport, but I always have my heels in my bag. But it's a high heel, and again, liken it to the fact that when we check out the stride of another woman's heel, you don't know the journey she's been on. And I love just walking in a high heel. It makes me more confident, and I feel more bold, and I show up with a presence about myself.
Right.
And that's what I would encourage you, is to walk in the type of shoe that gives you the support of showing up as your best self every time.
Awesome. I love it. So they say that, women who love pumps, you are definitely boss women. So there's no doubt about that. Okay, so for the final segment of the show, I call it a walk in her stilettos, where you inspire us even more from your walk. And I ask maybe one or two general questions. So I'm going to ask you, name a book that has changed and greatly impacted your life.
Ooh, it's so many. Okay, just one?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I would have to choose Bishop T.D. Jakes. It's it's not Destiny. It is the one with the animal instinct. So instinct changed my life. So
okay.
Ladies, pick that up if you can. It is amazing. Change your life.
Okay, and final question: what have you become better at saying no to in the last 5 years?
I've become better at saying no to friendships. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Friendships that are not advancing, not necessarily me, but the assignments that we have together.
Right.
Just that no purpose, friendships that just there, they serve no purpose. just my time. Like it's just taking up its distractions. And
Right.
so anything, yeah. So just saying no to friendships, not becoming friends or getting new acquaintances or strategic alliances, but friendships that are not meaningful and that can be detrimental to your
Right.
destiny.
I think that's a great one because, I mean, oftentimes we can be friends with someone and they are amazing, amazing people, but they're
Mhm.
just not progressing or moving forward or evolving. And it's hard to stay connected to someone like that
Mhm.
because it's either they're pulling you back or you're having to, drag them forward.
Yep. That's it.
I think that's great. So, Dr. Kimberly Ellison, I want to thank you for ministering to us today. I appreciate all of your wisdom and for you
Oh,
taking the time to share with us. And I'm definitely going to have you back. So
oh, thank you.
until until next time, everyone out there, ladies, download the Awaka My Stilettos app where we share morning affirmations. And you can actually send us your affirmations and we will feature them for you. We share motivational quotes of the day. There's blogs, there's chat rooms, there's videos. Or subscribe to our newsletter at awakamistilettos.com. And we'd love to have a review of the podcast. What did you think of the interview? Give us your feedback. Like, what do you have to say about what you've learned? What did you learn that you didn't know before? So continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.